Okay, we are good to go.
All right, good afternoon. It is 3:15 and I will call to this board meeting of the Western Sierra Charter School to order. Can you have the roll call, please?
Yes. Bernie McGoldrick. Absent. Mary Mellon. Here.
Present.
Cody Hayes.
Here.
Lisa Paskowski. Here. Jason Smith.
Here.
Or still having an echo? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to item number 3, and that is to approve the agenda for November 12th, 2024. We should all have a copy. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the agenda.
Lisa Paskowski, a motion to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Jason Smith, I second that.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll ask for a roll call vote, and I think we'll need to unmute the Oakers captain so that Mary can vote.
Mary. Ian.
Aye.
Cody.
Aye.
Lisa. Jason.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to number 4, is the action item to approve the minutes from the September 19th, 2024 meeting. I'll give you all just a moment to look over that. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Jason Smith, a motion to approve.
Have a second.
Lisa Paskowski, a second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's move on to a roll call vote.
Mary. Aye. Ian.
Aye.
Cody.
Aye.
Lisa. Aye. Jason.
Aye.
Carries. Moving on to item number 5, hearing of persons wishing to address the board. Mr. Hagan, are there any persons wishing to address the board?
No.
I'm not aware of any. And number 6, written communication. Have we received any written communication?
No.
Okay. Moving on to item number 7, the warrant reports. Do we have anything to discuss on?
No, I don't have anything specific. If there's any questions.
Now, I'll just give everybody just a moment to look over the warrants we sent out earlier. We'll just give you a couple minutes to look over it, in case there's any questions. additional time? Okay, then at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the warrants, the warrant reports for August 29th, 2024 through November 6th, 2024. Do I have a first?
Very good. Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Jason Smith, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, move to roll call vote.
Mary. Aye. Ian.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Lisa. Aye. Jason.
Aye.
Carries. Moving on to number 8, an information item, the Glacier High School Charter Petition approval status.
Yes, thank you. So, friends, in the process of seeing our charter reauthorized with Yosemite Unified, we submitted the approved Glacier Charter to Yosemite District over a month ago, probably 50 days ago or so, somewhere in there. And then they sent it off to their, which was standard procedure, off to their attorneys, who then reviewed it. Staff reviewed it on their side, and then got back to us with desired changes, desired/required changes before, as far as they're concerned. So they can ask as the authorizing entity for things that aren't necessarily required according to charter law, but they're the authorizing entity. And so they can say, well, we want this, or this is the kind of thing we need to be able to see from you for us to be comfortable with this. So we engaged in a good bit of back and forth. And so the charter document that we originally presented to them, which was legally compliant and good, we wouldn't have given them a charter without our own legal review. But our desires are not necessarily the same as the authoriser's desires. So we were engaged in this iterative back and forth process with Yosemite Unified to arrive at the charter that is before us now. So this is the same charter that you already prior approved, but there's been additions made to it to satisfy the authorizer. And so we're not coming asking for reauthorization. You've authorized, it's the same charter, but the place, probably the most significant place where there was a additional language, the most amount of language that was additional was in the last section of the charter, and it's on closure, charter closure, in the event that in the future you have to close. And they wanted much more specific with timelines, language about exactly the process that we would use particularly should Glacier be closing and Western Sierra Charter Schools closing. Which that's two different things, right? Because Western Sierra Charter Schools includes Mountain Home, Glacier, and Endeavor. And so the likelihood of that ever happening is it's a limited, very limited likelihood, not likely at all, actually. And so, but they want to know what would happen with Glacier assets if Western Sierra Charter Schools doesn't continue to exist. And so we spelled it out. What that does is it would go to a public school. We would direct them to the public school of our choice, probably, back to the granting districts, wherever that would apply. So that was the biggest place, was specificity, a lot of language around closure. So that's really that. So yeah, for the most part, it was, a little bit of language here, a little bit of language there. There was nothing substantive to change the charter or what we were able to do or had to do. So, is there any questions about that? Much of what comes after, because some of the things they wanted actually bore upon our policies. And so we're bringing before you some policy changes because they wanted this thing changed here. And when I get to those policies, as we move on down through the list on the agenda, I'll make that clear what they wanted in each policy change. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, the area on closure directly in the document, and then and then some policy language. And the charter has to actually, obviously, match what our policy language is. And they wanted small little changes there, and I'll speak to those as we go through the review of some of the policy changes.
All right, thank you for that information and appreciate all the work you put into getting the charter, up to where everybody wants it to be. Are there any questions on this information item before we move on to the specific policies? Okay. See, you want to
Sure.
each,
Probably each one, yeah, an action on each one.
Okay, let's do
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to number 9. This is an action item on the revised Western Sierra Charter Schools Independent Study Policy for topics.
So we already have an approved independent study policy that's in your packet. And this policy was last addressed about 2 years ago to meet current law. The place where there was language change would be found on page 2. Item number 4, item D of 4, where in the event that there is a student who is not performing and not doing well, and we're having to intervene with perhaps a non-compliance process, the attorney wanted different language. We said formally in item D, it said would meet with the advising teacher to review the pupil's agreement and to continue to determine if this is the best placement. The attorney on the district side didn't want that. They wanted us to have this language, which is more directly out of Ed Code, convening a pupil parent educator conference to review the pupil's written agreement, what's there. So that was the only change in independent study policy. It changes nothing in what we do. It's just language that satisfies the district. But it is a change in the policy. This is a board approved policy. And so that's why it's here before you for your approval of that language change.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are there any questions before we move on to the vote? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the revised independent study policy.
Lisa Paskowski, a motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Do we have a second?
What do you say, second motion?
All right, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote, please. Oh, sorry, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call.
Mary. Ian.
Aye.
Cody.
Aye.
Lisa. Aye. Jason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's move on to number 10.
Thank you. So a very small change also in our suspension and our expulsion policy. And so the funny thing is that we don't suspend or expel. We're an independent study school. It doesn't make a lot of sense to discipline a kid by sending them home because they're probably already there. And so we don't do it, never have, ever, in all of our years in any of our schools. However, it is a legally required policy that we have to have. And that policy has to meet what Ed Code wants suspension and expulsion policies to meet. So even though we'll never do this, we have to have it. And there was one of the suspendable offenses that said for willful defiance, which used to be a suspendable offense. And it was still in our language in our suspension expulsion policy. But the state has subsequently disallowed willful defiance of a student to be a suspendable offense. And so the district wanted that language removed. And so we will no longer suspend for willful defiance because we took it out, no longer there. And so that satisfied them, and we were happy enough to comply.
Thank you for that information. Are there any questions? Then I will entertain a motion to approve the revised suspension and expulsion policy.
Jason Smith, I move to approve suspension and expulsion policy.
Jason, do I hear a second?
Lisa Paskowski, a second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to the roll.
Mary. Aye. Ian,
Aye.
Cody,
Aye.
Lisa. Aye. Jason.
Aye.
Carries. We'll move on to number 11, that is the Title IX policy.
So this perhaps is the biggest policy addition change of all of this whole process. And so we introduced Title IX policy to this board in March. And so that's why we're bringing it. It's a new policy. Our normal process, just so everybody knows, is that we, whenever we can, unless there's an emergency, whenever we can, we introduce a policy at one meeting and seek action on that policy at a later meeting. And in order that the board has time to actually consider it, digest it, deliberate on it. This was brought before the board in our March meeting. In former times, it was our opinion that Title IX did not apply to our schools. Title IX is a federal program that is attached with federal money. And we don't take federal money. And so we never believed that we needed to actually adopt a Title IX policy. However, our attorneys made it known to us that we do take federal money, even though it's not directly. We take federal money through special education funding, which is federal funding. And so therefore, Title IX does apply. Title IX, as you may recall it from former days in college, perhaps, is a law, federal law that disallows, prohibits discrimination based on sex, particularly in sports. That's really what its inception was. It's come to be much more broad, much more sweeping in regards to where it actually applies. So even though we don't have any sports, well, very little sports programming to speak of, it still is something that applies much more broadly. And what it really is a systematized protocol for complaining. For a Title IX, if there was a sex, gender-based complaint of not getting educational access, that's what Title IX is. And so now we understand it to comply, that it does apply to us. And so what we are doing is bringing back a Title IX policy. Again, we brought it for your first view in March. And our attorneys let us know that we do need to have a Title IX policy, and the district's attorneys also did the same thing. So that's why it's here. I don't know if you have any questions about that. Happy to do what we can to answer your questions. But that's what we're asking you to take action on.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the Title IX policy? Anybody had adequate time to review it since this is a new policy?
For whatever it's worth, both the attorney on our side and on the district side are satisfied with the policy meeting requirements.
Okay, then at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the Title IX policy.
Cody Hayes, I move to approve the motion.
Is there a second?
Jason Smith, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, let's move to a roll call vote.
Mary. Aye. Ian,
Aye.
Cody.
Aye.
Lisa. Aye. Jason.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Moving on to number 12, this is the revised suicide prevention policy.
So suicide prevention policy has been a required policy for 5 years or so for schools to have in place. What's in front of you is essentially what we've had in place for those number of years. There was a recent law that was passed. Suicide prevention policy formally applied to what grade?
7 through 12.
7 through 12. We had to have a suicide prevention policy that was responsive to grades 7 through 12. And now the new law requires that suicide prevention policy to be applicable K through 12. And so what's in front of you is essentially the same suicide prevention policy that we have had prior, but with language inserted at necessary places that says this is applicable to K through 12. Holly, would there be anything else you'd want to mention to that? So again, it's the same policy we've already had, we've just basically gone in wherever it was spoken to, necessary, and said this is a K-12 policy.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the revised suicide prevention policy.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Lisa Paxton, yes.
Thank you, Lisa. Any further discussion on this policy? Hearing none, let's move to a roll call vote.
Mary,
Can't quite hear you, Mary. Can you speak up, please?
Ian,
Aye.
Cody,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to number 13, this is an information-only item, the introduction of the harassment, discrimination, intimidation, and bullying policy.
Yes, thank you. That's a mouthful, and I'll probably punt back to Holly here to speak to this if you have questions. We already have in place a sexual harassment policy. New law requires that we have a larger sort of omnibus policy that covers not only sexual harassment, but all other forms of intimidation and harassment, hence the very long title. And so what this policy is, again, we're just bringing it as an information, and we'll see action on it at our next meeting. This would replace our current sexual harassment policy because it's contained within this particular policy. And it goes on to speak, again, to various other forms of bullying and harassment. Holly, is there anything you want to add to that? No? It's your moment, your time, it's your opportunity.
A lot of what is contained in this policy, there's an overlap between the Title IX policy and this. One is a federal requirement, one is a state requirement. So, in the event there was a claim of discrimination or harassment, we might have to look at both policies to determine which one we're going to investigate under.
Yeah, so it's an unfortunate necessity that we have two separate authoritative entities requiring two separate things, and it may, in the event in the future where we have to actually act on this, make it confusing on which way we proceed, but that's just both are required.
Thank you. Is this a policy that needs to be or has been vetted by our attorney through the district and various, certifying entities, attorneys?
So Holly, you can help me with this. We took this, the primary draft that you have in front of us from a charter law firm, not the normal firm. We didn't work with our current law firm to develop this language or take the draft from them. This came from Charter School Development Center, right, Holly?
Yes.
So Charter School Development Center has a whole host of template recommended policies that they update and keep current. And so this was something that was asked for by the district. And so we went to what was available to us from Charter School Development Center. So this is current, legally correct language. It's just not from Young Many and Core, who we usually use in workplace specific.
Yeah, are there any questions at this stage about the policy? Hearing none, we'll look forward to taking action on that next meeting.
Thank you.
And so moving on to item number 14, this is also an information item, the introduction of the anti-nepotism policy.
So this policy did not come out of a request from the chartering process. This just seemed to us to be wise, that we had a formalized intent of the board and statement in regards to how we hire and supervise, and that we take a stance that is anti-nepotism. And so that's outlined here. Specifically, if you look down at the last main heading under anti-nepotism policy components, there's two pieces that are, I think, most direct. One is in regards to hiring. says that WSCS prohibits participation in the selection of an applicant for employment by anyone who has a personal relationship with that applicant. So in the hiring process, whoever is doing the paper screening or the interviewing, or whoever is the supervisor in charge of that particular hiring time, nobody in that could be related to by friendship or family relation to a candidate. They have to disallow themselves from that process. So a hiring statement. And then secondly, in regards to supervision, it says WSCS prohibits the direct or first line supervision of an employee with whom the supervisor has a personal relationship. So no employee can be under the supervision, directly under the supervision of a supervisor in the school. So this is helpful in clarifying. We have a number of situations. We have a situation where we have a mom who's an employee and we have a son who's an employee, but neither one are in supervisor roles and they're not actually, their work doesn't cross over. We have a couple situations where there's a husband and a wife, but again, they're not in any kind of supervisory role. They were never involved with the hiring. And so because we have those situations already, we thought it was wise to clarify what would be allowable and what's not.
Thank you for that, Mr. Fox. Are there any questions about the anti-nepotism policy? Seeing none, we'll take action on that at next meeting.
Yep.
Number 15, this is also an information item, the board member handbook.
And I will, this is something we've been talking to you about. It has been for a year or so our desire to put into your hands as a board a set of documents and tools that are germane to your work as a board member. And at our last board meeting, you may recall, we sort of informally polled you as board members, would you want that as a binder each with a hard copy or as something that was digital and electronic and web-based? And you all said digital and electronic and web-based, and that was convenient for us because that's easier to update. And so that's what we're gonna be ready to roll out with some sort of password, right? Holly, you want to speak to that?
Yes, I actually just shared a link from the Google Drive with you all around 3 p.m. today, so I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't seen it yet. But there is a copy in your packet as well. The most current version will be electronic. Most notably here on the very last page, there is a series of links, and it's a link to numerous board policies, all 3 of our charters, and then a miscellaneous section which includes our bylaws, articles of incorporation, some information on Brown Act, Senate Bill 126, charter law. So anytime we have a policy update or a new policy is brought to you and approved, these links will be updated. So to access the most current version of everything, you will have to use the digital version. I hope it's a useful resource for you all. And please let me know if you have ideas of things that you'd like to see added, and I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, sorry. We do, the whole intent is this actually is a useful document because we bring new board members in every 3 years, and there's a certain amount of information to sort of overcome and master, and this is supposed to help you. So I would encourage you, as you can, to just even take this home and skim through here. It's going to have some basics that fall under your responsibility and that are guidance documents. And then as Holly invited, as you have ideas or questions that could help us clarify things that are in the board handbook or could be added, we definitely would want to know what those are.
And thank you all very much for putting this together. We appreciate the work and trying to make our jobs easier and clearer.
That's all, Holly. Thank you.
Are there any questions about the handbook or anything that Anybody has to say about it at this point? Then we will go ahead and move on to number 16, another information item about Brown Act training.
So it is another requirement legally that that charter school boards are trained in the Brown Act. For your information, there is a little statement in the board handbook on what the Brown Act is. It applies to, it has to do with open meetings for public boards. So boards that have responsibility and a public trust over public funds, which this board does with our charter school funding, it's a requirement in the state that those boards follow the open meeting rules, which are contained in the Brown Act, state law, the Ralph M. Brown Act. And it is somewhere in the last recent years been made a requirement that boards and staffs who participate in meetings have to be trained in what the Brown Act is and how it operates. And so we have provided, I sent an email out to everybody in this room earlier today that has, Polly put together for us, that has the link that you would go to get this training that we've provided. You will first have to create an account. It's through the Charter School Development Center. So you're going to have to create your login that we're all familiar with now. And then that will then give you access to the Brown Act training, which amounts to about 5 sessions that are 15 minutes each or so, somewhere in there. So there's probably a total of an hour and a half of training. And we're just asking, and once you've gone through it all, we will be able to be noticed that it's complete and we can check the box that you've been trained. Our obligation is to make sure that our board has the training, and that would be the way to do it. And so some of you did it last year, you've seen it before, it's the same process. And for those who are new, you'll, I think, find it probably useful and maybe interesting in regards to the open meeting responsibilities that we have. So the email is there, and if you just go find that, you should be able to get your password and go to it. We're just asking that you complete it before our January meeting. That seemed like a good time frame to get to it. Any questions on that?
You don't hear it again.
Oh,
So thank you for that information. Look forward to doing that again.
oh boy, yes.
If anyone has trouble getting logged in, please just let me know.
And everybody has been able to access their Western Share Charter School email by now. There hasn't been any problems with that. That's reading all this information. So. Okay. Good to know. Then we will go ahead and move on to item number 17, which are the reports. And we're starting with the Executive Director's report. Mr. Cobb.
So yes, sirree. Not a lot to report. I've been talking the whole meeting already. But just again, the final approval that we are expecting is from the Yosemite School Board. They will be meeting on coming Monday, 11/18. Their meeting is at 6:30, and the meeting will be held at Corscold Elementary School. I forgot to mention when we were on the agenda where the Glacier Charter, we were looking at that. The final staff report after all of our iterative process, the back and forth, the staff has to produce a report of what their disposition is, which way they're going to recommend to the board. And they recommended approval for the charter at 5 years with no contingencies. So that's as good of a recommendation as you can get. And so we're very grateful. And so we expect, if you would want to come to that meeting, we'd love to see you there. However, we're not feeling like it's going to do anything other than go the way it should and get approved. So don't feel like you have to be there. There'll be a few of us, obviously, there with that. But so that's coming. That's pretty exciting. And then that charter will be in effect for 5 more years. Any questions with that?
That's great news.
And then just an update on the building projects. A few things are out there, as you're well aware. We'll start with Oakhurst and the current project. We've been trying to get the additional bathrooms. And so We have the ping pong ball going back and forth across the table. The Madeira Planning has gotten back to our last time that we responded to the questions that they had and added additional information, and now they've reviewed that and then sent back a couple other things they want from us. And so that is now in our hands, and we're working on getting that taken care of, and so that we can get those answers back to them. And what we're looking for is for them to issue us a permit so that we can begin work on the bathrooms. And so we continue to be positive. What else can you be but positive? We're gonna get the darn bathrooms. It's gonna happen. And so that's where we are now. That's where we are now with that. Secondly, we are seeking to, as you know, build an addition out of the back of the building, the main building in Oakhurst. And we had to get a variance for that project because it encroached on a county setback. We now have the variance. And so we're in the process of getting the plans drawn up by an architectural firm so that we can get our plan package together and submit that to the county looking for a building permit for that project. So that'll be really exciting. That'll add 2,700 square feet, a couple classrooms, some additional offices for Oakhurst. So that's pretty cool. Third building project is finding a new building. And as I mentioned before, we're at that job, like that's job one, as far as I'm concerned. And we have a building in mind that we've been out to see a couple times. And with our realtor, we have submitted now to the owner of that property a letter of intent, kind of framing up an initial like rough idea of what we were seeking and what we're willing to do with the owner. This is for a lease, and we're waiting for the owner to respond. The building is down Shaw, about 3 miles that way. Blythe is the cross street, so it's right by, if you know the Costco that's down Shaw towards the 99, it's right close to that Costco. And it's a large, unoccupied building, but really a pretty neat space. 25,000 square feet is what we're looking for there. So that's, yeah, so that's out there. Don't know where that's gonna go, obviously, but we won't stop until we get it done. And this is probably the closest building that we've seen in the number of years that we've been looking that seems to sort of thread the needle for us. So it's not perfect, doesn't give us everything we want, but it gives us the essentials of what we want. And we think, yeah, we think it'll serve our purposes. And so we'll see what we get back from the letter of intent from the owner.
Thank you for that update. Do we have any questions for Mr. Fox? Okay. Then let's move on to the CBO reports. Mr. Jeffers.
Okay, I will share my screen here. So you have it in front of you as well, so it's never going to be big enough, that's for sure. It's regardless of not expand this. Okay. So I will, basically, there's not a lot of adjustments. The main adjustments, and we'll just go through all three schools, and please interrupt me and ask questions as we go, because I know there's a lot on here. We went over this the last time. It hasn't changed a lot since we discussed it the last time, but there are some adjustments. In revenue for Mountain Homeschool, our current enrollment is 210, but the projection we had was 211.53 for the ADA. Now that's higher than 210, so clearly that's, we're giving money, the ADA projection, the average daily attendance is supposed to be enrollment less absences. Well, if it's higher, then obviously our enrollment is wrong. Something's got to change. So what I did is I just reduced revenue by $26,000, which is basically a couple of students. We'll see where it goes. For our type of schools, our ADA tends to go up and our enrollment increases as the year goes on. So we shall see where that goes, but right now it's effective thing to do would be to reduce revenue a little bit there. That's from our home school. Remember, we do have the, here where it says building projects. You see there's $355,000, there's 11,355,000, 366,000, that's the bathrooms and this other construction we're talking about. So that's still on there, nothing's changed. We don't know if we'll get to all that, but we're hoping, as Mike said, well, there's always hope, we hope all those things.
Springs eternal.
Yes, so, we're showing that, that means that our revenue, less expense at the bottom, is still negative 135,000, that's because we're spending money that we're, revenue that we've acquired over the years to pay for the building project that we're not necessarily getting this year, so that's why it's a negative figure in 1 year. But our, you see our reserves are very high, we have 2.4 million in reserves, so that is a very good number. I'll move on to Glacier. Glacier, our permanent home is 79, our P2 ADA was 79.5, again, slightly off to what we expected. We were thinking maybe a little bit higher. So in this case, I've also subtracted 2 students, just to make sure. Interestingly, just for your knowledge, high school kids get more money per ADA than K-8 kids do, so there's a little different number that goes on there. This one also, since on Glacier, they share the facility down there with, up there with Mountain Home, and so there's 145,000 there. That means at the bottom, we have a loss of 117,000. Another thing that did get adjustment up here in salaries is salaries got reduced by $48,000. There was a duplication in some costs from the original budget, so that did help a little extra revenue over expense. So, Glacier has a very healthy, for its size, $702,000. That's a carryover reserve is 52%, and that is a very nice reserve amount. The 52%, as I said before, and I'd like to repeat, but that number is really saying how much of a year could you go without getting any cash? 52% of the year without getting any revenue in, and we would still be okay. So you want to keep that at a good, healthy amount, and that's very, very good. Endeavor, on to Endeavor. Endeavor has some adjustments up there at the top on the revenue. They also are slightly high. Each one of the schools is just a little bit off. It's not much, but it's a little bit. The adjustment there, since we're working on Endeavor currently, I was able to put some figures into here. We're only a couple weeks into the period after 10/31. This is first interim period, so there's a lot of work being done on the schools with budget adjustments. So really the stuff that you see in state aid and education and in lieu property tax, those adjustments back and forth are because of the way the state does their accounting. So it nets to $6,000 more in revenue. Not much, but you see a lot of big numbers going back and forth. The net is that. Everything else pretty much stays the same. I don't see anything too different there. Another thing I do want to mention, I always mention in the past, but we do have some new board members. We get paid in arrears. We get our money after we spent it, basically because the state's slow to give us money and we're able to spend money before that happens. And so the year-to-date figures are, until the end of the year, are always going to look upside down, negative. Another reason we have reserves, so that we can absorb, it's like having cash in the bank for those bills to come before your paycheck did. And that's what happens all the time for each of the schools. It's the same with every public school in the state. So right now, you'll see on each of those is a negative figure at the bottom of year-to-date. But we're really looking at projecting year-to-date. That's the important one. And Endeavor showing a net revenue above expenses of $255,000 at this point. For Endeavor's just been a great school in its early years here. It already has a 46.2% reserve. And that'll come in handy when we get our new place, new building. So that's exciting. I hope that one works out. But one of them is going to work out wherever we're going to get going. And really, that's it for the budget update. Does anyone have any questions?
There don't appear to be any. Thank you very much for that, update. And we'll move on to the technology update.
Oh, stop sharing.
Aaron, where is Aaron at?
There he is.
Jody, you want to stop sharing?
Hold on, this one. It will not. Is it?
I can force it.
Can you please? Yeah, thank you. It's not hurting me. There it goes.
All right, so I just wanted to give a brief update to our cloud move. We had come back in June to the board with a request to move our servers to the cloud. At that time, estimating that we were going to spend maybe $50,000 for physical hardware, we're going to go that way, or recommended to go to the cloud, estimating about $32,000 to go that way. So just a brief update, we've moved to the cloud. We've gotten rid of the physical servers in Oakhurst. So a couple of unintended benefits to the noise has gone down significantly. That was like a loud piercing noise at that time for parents and staff. The heat's gone down a lot, so that's improved. We're trending at about $9,000 to spend for the year, so significantly lower. We were trying to estimate conservatively before, but I did want to give some thanks and appreciation to, I think it was Bernie, that had spoken at the last meeting, giving us encouragement to move forward with that. And to Eric, who gave us the direction and vision for moving forward with that. So just a brief update on that cloud move. It's complete, and there's a lot of benefits that we have from that. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron.
I just want to say thank you, Aaron. He put in a ton of work to make that move happen, did a lot of testing, and, you know, it went about as smooth as you could hope. I think very few people even realized there was any differences other than they had to change like a link to where they found some of the stuff on the server. And yeah, I was so happy that I didn't have to worry about it. So thank you, Aaron, and your team.
Yes, sir. Are there any questions regarding that?
It appear to be any, as always, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you for your leadership and direction.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, moving on to the Oakhurst staff liaison report.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me share my slideshow with you. Okay, let me go back a few screens. Actually, a lot of screens. Okay, you're getting a quick preview. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here's the beginning. Well, so we haven't talked since September, so a few things wanted to share with you that we've done since then in terms of field trips. So this is we haven't done this in a while. I don't know how long. I think we used to do this, but way before I got here. So we went to the Sugar Pine Railroad with Mountain Homeschool, and we took about 120 plus, and it was a perfect day. And the families had a great time, and so it was like all ages, younger assemblies could go, and the staff there was just wonderful. The engineer, if you haven't had a chance to ever ride the Sugar Pine Railroad, I highly recommend it. But that was a great trip for us that day. Then Mrs. Kelly's Earth Science class. This is something they do every year, and they go to Mono Lake and they have a nature talk there at the lake, and they stop in Yosemite Valley. I don't really know how the trip, I'm assuming the trip was great, but these are some pictures from that trip. And if Mr. Hagan has anything to add to that, he
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
I got to go on the trip. It was a ton of fun. Mrs. Kelly super well organized, very focused on her class or science, looking at the geology of the different locations of the Yosemite Valley, and then over to the east side to Mona Lake. Had a naturalist meet us there, and then I actually got to go up onto the into a volcano, which was I had been in that area before. I'd never been to the volcano, and it's like ginormous, just like frozen fields of obsidian. It's just kind of crazy. So a very fun trip. It was I had an opportunity to drive with a bunch of boys from the high school, and so I appreciated it. It was a great trip.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hagan. Yeah, the east side, that window is, I'm not sure if Tenaya, or Taigo Pass is closed now, but that window closes, and then once the snow comes, the pass is closed. The only way to get to the east side is to go down through Tehachapi. So, and then this just happened on Friday, and these are pictures from the last trip. So I don't really, and I know this is one of those joint trips with Endeavor and Glacier. So I'm sure they might have more information on that. And so like this, and then the Catalina trip is a joint trip with Endeavor and the Mountain Homeschool for 8th grade. So we just had Spirit Week 2 weeks ago, and this is something we started, I believe last year was the first year we did this. And so this is Friesen, her leadership class started it last year, and now with Mr. Mallard doing leadership for high school and for Mountain Homeschool, those kids, the leadership classes kind of planned this weekend and came up with the dress up days, the theme day. So this was Renaissance Day, and then it was raining that day. So during lunchtime that we would have activities. So we had to move the activities to the inside. And then this was this was formal day. So we had to dress up formally. And then like kids during the lunchtime, they would get prizes like gift cards for the best dressed, and they would pick 2 of the best dressed kids. And then this was squad day, where you kind of would dress the same. And so there you can see the staff, we were all superheroes. And so you can see the kids really got into it. They had a lot of fun. And I think the trying to build school spirit, it did exactly that. So this was anything but a backpack day. So you had to bring the stuff you bring, but you can't use a backpack. So we had a variety, and then you can see Mrs. Friesen and Mrs. Proto there with their tool belts. And we had somebody bring a piano bench. They had all their work in it. So it was very creative, a lot of fun. And then, like I said, we would have games during lunchtime. And this is with the leadership kids of 8th graders, and then the high schoolers would lead this. And so it was a great week. So a lot of participation. One day, so that same week we had our staff meeting, and so it was the day was you wear one color, and so our campus is closed that day, but we have PE day up at Camp Poker. So Mr. DeCarly is phenomenal. I mean, he is just really special when it comes to leading PE. And so this has really grown this year. We did this last year. And so so we have 50 plus kids coming to do PE day with Mr. DeCarly, and then he's been using high school students to help in the stations. And so PE day has really, I think, gained more momentum as kids come and try it and have a lot of fun. And so like Mr. DeCarly comes to my 1st and 2nd grade variety class and helps me with PE. And he has just all these creative great games. So yeah, it's PD has been great. So we do that once a week when we have our staff meeting. And since there's no classes, the alternative is PE day up at Camp Oakers. So last week was our book fair, and it did very well. We sold 592 books, and we made a lot more profit this year. As you can see, it was $1,000 more. So our profit was, our total gross was $5,148. and our profit was $2,389. So, and we have that, right when you first come in, our big main room just full of books. So a lot of activities. A lot of, as the kids are looking for books and that kind of thing, and a lot of parents buying, Christmas books and Christmas presents. So the book fair was a big success this year, and Mrs. Newlinger was very happy. So, and then this, our enrichment classes are wrapping up. So next week is our last week of enrichment classes. And the bulk of our classes are on Tuesdays and Thursdays for enrichment. And so here is Mrs. Gross's Mosaic 8th grade class, Mrs. Heidelbrick's California history class, and they made little raised states of California. And then this is Mrs. Hill's history and craft of Native American beading class. And here is my first and second grade variety class. So this is my AM class and my PM class. And so next week is our last week of enrichment classes. The following, so after the Thanksgiving break, we will have another PE day on that Tuesday, and we won't have enrichment classes. And then the following week, we have the kids gift workshop. So, I back to the enrichment classes, I'd say they've been, really well attended. A lot of kids on campus, so the parents are taking advantage of that chance to bring their kids to school and, have friendships and that socialization that goes on with those classes. So upcoming field trips this Friday, we're going to the Chaffee Zoo. So TK through 6th grade for that. And Mrs. Hill has been organizing that. And then on December 6th, we're going to the theater, and we have about 125 people signed up to go see Annie. And Mountain Homeschool's own Campbell Sloas, related to me, is going to be Annie that day. So that's kind of fun. And then also some other upcoming events. In December, we have kind of a cool, every school has a Christmas tree. Not that Oakhurst has it downtown, but the center of town, they have, every school has a Christmas tree. So Mountain Homeschool has a Christmas tree. And so we will meet there and have hot chocolate and cookies and music, and we'll make ornaments, and then we will put them on. And Mrs. Proto's been organizing that, and that's been a lot of fun the last few years. And then the high schoolers have their Christmas party on December 10th, and they take over the main room here here at school and have a great time. And then this is what I mentioned earlier, the kids gift workshop. The kids get to come on a Tuesday or a Thursday instead of enrichment classes. They make 2 crafts that are like secret crafts. They wrap them and to give to loved ones. And then, it's all the teachers are there. We have music playing. It's very festive. It's like all hands on deck as we help kids make these crafts that they give to their loved ones. So that's, I would tell my new families, I highly recommend this. This is a great activity. It's a lot of fun. And that is it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. And if Mr. Hagan has anything else to add to my little presentation.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you covered just about everything I was hoping you'd cover, so thank you very much. My presentation is pretty short because I got a preview of his, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to cover any of that stuff. Hello, everyone. These are highlights that I shared last time. Mr. Sloas pretty much covered everything that, we need to do. We did have a college fair, early in September. But, you know, a couple big thank yous. I want to just thank Kayleen for organizing Spirit Week. Brandon Mallard also helped with that, and the ASB classes. They were all very involved with kind of running all of the Spirit Week items. I also just want to thank Diane Newlinger for the book fair. As John said, it was super successful, and Mrs. Newlinger is super excited to, you know, add to the library choices and order new books and things to be able to add there. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit of that. Trying to think of other things to cover. Upcoming events, we covered a lot of those things. One of the things you'll see middle school dances, like we're not actually putting on these dances, but the local junior high programs in our area are now including our students. They basically are having regional dances. Like most of the schools that have facilities are organizing junior high dances, and all of the schools are invited, all the mountain area schools. And so we don't have a large population of our students go to it, but we do have some students that are enjoying, you know, going and seeing their friends from other schools, and appreciate those things. So like this next one is going to be at Minarets High School, that hosted by Spring Valley. So that's kind of a fun thing that we are being involved in. In terms of some other changes, we have hired a few new staff members. So Brian Donker is now our new campus safety supervisor. If you recall, we had Kelly Maples last year, and she is now at home raising her child. And so Brian comes to us. He was a private school 4th and 5th grade teacher. His family is enrolled at Mountain Homeschool, so he has ties to the program. And he's been super helpful. Like he jumped in, and then with some changes at the front desk, he had to fill in as our receptionist for a little bit. Like, hey, guess what? You've been here a week and you get to be a receptionist for a little bit. And he did that. Then he also helped train our new receptionist, which is Shannon. Well, I can't really see the name there, but Shannon Metzger. And Ms. Metzger was also a former parent at our school, at Mountain Homeschool, so she's familiar with our program, and she has jumped right in also. With all of that, I just need to thank Mary Ann Lord, who's been handling all of our registration. As many of you know her down here at Endeavor, she's been coming up to Oakhurst twice a week to both help support us in registration and help with training, and so she's in the process of training Shannon right now, and so super helpful there. Also, just Diane Newlinger and Brian, who was new, like has helped with a lot of the training and covering the front desk. I just wanted to, you know, say thank you to them and all the other staff that have kind of filled in. And as you saw, there was lots of fun trips going on and field trips and activities, just amazing staff. I just want to, a few things that John didn't cover. Madera County, we have our academic decathlon every year, and so we have students that are contributing to a poster contest for kind of the cover. And actually, John Sloas is organizing the ski school program that we do up at Mountain Homeschool. For those of you that aren't familiar, Badger Pass is relatively close to us, and we have for years done the ski program. And so John is trying to recruit skiers and snowboarder parents or close family members or friends to help instruct our students. I think Mr. Cox is going to be doing that, coming up there and help instruct. Great opportunity. It's how I learned to ski, not through Mountain Homeschool, but similar program at the other mountain area schools. Fun opportunity there, and just a big thank you to John Sloas for running that program. It's a lot of work. I know, because I used to do it myself when I was a teacher. And we already covered the PE day, but something else, Mr. DeCarli, he's just amazing, is the kids actually get a little like PE passport when they come to the PE days, and he gets little stickers for them that every time they do it, so they kind of have like this little collector book of them. And he kind of has themes that go along with what they're doing for the day for the stickers that they get. So pretty fun opportunity for our students. And Camp Oakhurst has not been charging us to use their facility So it's been super nice for us to be able to use that nice big field that they have there. A couple other just updates. We just had a lottery for both Mountain Home and Glacier High School. Mountain Home's capacity, based on all of the staffing arrangements we have now, is about 213. We had some openings, but we had, as you may or may not be aware, we do give priority to current families. And so we had some families that were wanting to enroll siblings. And so they took those couple spots, but we had already put the lottery in on the books. So we did lottery 46 students and put them in an order. And so as soon as we have spots start opening up for Mountain Home School, that's the order that we will go on for. The demand for Mountain Home School has been very high this year. Glacier has a capacity right now with all the staffing arrangements of 83. And so we recently had 5 openings and we had 8 students. And so we lottery those students, so we'll be filling those and should be back up to maximum capacity for what we have planned for staffing for the year. And that is basically it. Are there any questions? Awesome.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to the Fresno report, starting with the staff liaison. It's Grace Reed.
Right. Yeah. So a couple fun little things. We have a really super energetic and dedicated staff, as I'm sure you are all aware, but a couple fun things that spontaneously happen are our baseball fans there, our staff took it upon themselves to create another dress-up day to support their favorite team. So, and then in very recent news, we had our, as Eric already mentioned, Reagan trip that Nancy will talk more about later. Our staff wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to our 2 staff members that are veterans, Nick Tettleton on the left and Brandon Mallard on the right. So we're thankful for their service and we're thankful for a staff that recognizes that as well. We also had Spirit Week. So we had Decades Day, Twin Day, Sports Day, and Celebrity Day. But I think Twin Day was our most popular, judging by the photos submitted. But it was a super fun. A lot of our staff and students engaged in the dress-up days. We attended the A+ conference, so that's all of us WSCS who attended on the left there. But super exciting for us at Endeavor. Brooke Harada and Nick Tettleton presented on at the conference. And they presented a session entitled Music of Memory and really highlighted the work that they've been doing, connecting with, I'm blanking on the name of the home right now, the Grove, and using music both to connect with those at the Grove, but also to kind of keep tabs on and help boost mental health in our students. So connecting our students who maybe are a little on the fringe, we want to kind of keep tabs on into a positive way where they're actually giving back. And we know that like that internally does a lot when people are connected in that way. So mutually beneficial. And our first presenters at a conference. So we're super proud of the work that they've done and how great they did at the conference as well. Our Sunshine Club continues, which includes Nancy Flynn, Robin Allen Maddox, and Shauna Adams. Created a Play-Doh competition for staff, and so these are our competition winners with their little creations, and they do a great job of just throughout the month finding ways to engage staff in our community. This last staff meeting, a portion of our time was dedicated to staff team building. So a couple months ago, Diane DeCaro led us in learning about our personalities and how that our different personality types and the characteristics of those personalities play into how we work together as a staff. And so based on that and staff interests, Julie led us in an activity where each staff member was randomly given someone else, and they had to create art that represented that staff member. So it ended up being a super fun way to connect with each other, and staff presented their art pieces to each other at the end as well. So again, we like to have fun and have a super energetic staff, and so yeah, there's fun in all we do. This is our drop-off team, and so on the left, they had a Star Wars theme, so they have all their lightsabers out to help direct traffic during the parent drop-off. And then on the right, they were themed as, it was election day, so were all dressed up accordingly as well.
Okay, so now I'm next, principal report. Here is a few pictures of our little ones, TK, kindergarten, and first grade, and they're learning about nocturnal animals, and they created tissue paper foxes. On the left and on the right, they're practicing the all famous Bitty Bitty Bat song and having fun there. I'm sure everybody knows it. Something really cool that happened last week is we had a guest speaker who's an author come to the third grade enrichment class. Novella Dean co-wrote the book To Thumb with her son. And so she brought the book to class. The kids got to hear the author read the book to them and bring all things Africa into the classroom with toys and manipulatives and explorer hats. So it was a really fun day. Okay, so our sixth grade enrichment class continues to learn about Greece, and they're studying, they also handcrafted game pieces to play the ancient game of knucklebones, all while wearing their chitons. Here's our few pictures.
Otherwise known as togas.
Togas, yes. I learned that word today. Junior high Lego robotics are preparing for the competition that's happening actually this weekend, November 17th. Middle school art, led by Andrea King. They're doing, in 7th grade, working on color theory projects, and 8th graders are doing watercolor silhouettes. Okay, middle school science, led by Mr. Tettleton. We have the students created their rockets last week, and today we got to see them launch, or not launch, depending on the rocket. They had a lot of fun today. We have the 7th and 8th grade math skills class, and here you see them working on finding the mode, mean, median, and range of their candy. And then they created bar graphs, pictographs to represent the data, and they did end up eating and dividing the candy afterwards. Middle school computer science are working on programming, and they take turns being navigator and they're typing in the code, and the other students is navigator helping to find bugs and other ideas, and then they switch. So they are really into coding right now. We have middle school and the high school ROV class do something really cool recently. Students interacted with 2 crew members of the Nautilus vessel over Zoom, and one of them was a pilot, the ROV pilot, and so that was really exciting for our students. The Nautilus is located in South Pacific, 2,300 miles southwest of Hawaii, using ROVs to collect data from deep ocean areas. So that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, our students are gonna get to do that in December, so that's neat to find out.
Yeah.
With the Nautilus team.
Really super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And in theater arts, middle school and high school have an upcoming variety show this weekend. And so they were practicing. Here are a few pictures of them getting ready for the show. And you're all invited this Saturday, 6 p.m. at the Central High School Theater. Highlighting here our CT entrepreneurship program. Our students created a PowerPoint presentation on a successful entrepreneur of their choice. And so here we are, a few pictures of them presenting. Here is our high school sewing class, one of our most popular classes. Everyone wants to take it. And they are creating pillowcases and drawstring bags. usually don't have a math picture, but here are our Math 1 students working to solve performance tasks. This happened to be on a Decades Day, so that's why you see some of the interesting outfits here. And last time we announced that we were going to be part of the Fresno State Pole Vine Festival, and here we are with our display. And the theme was Central Valley agriculture, and so the students created art to display that theme. I had the pleasure of attending. It was super organized, well ran, and we were among one of the few high school students showcased for that festival. So it's great to see our school represented at Fresno State. Both campuses attended the Fresno State campus tour led by Greg Hill, our guidance counselor. And they actually got to go behind the scenes of the medical athletic department, and they got to run around the Fresno State football field, and I'm sure the kids had a great time, and so did the staff that attended. That was a highlight of the trip. Here, like mentioned before, we just came back from last week. They went to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, and here are some highlights of things that they got to do. This year's acting president was Endeavor School Senior City Hall, and this was your second year leadership class. It's always a great field trip for both campuses. Here is the Endeavor cross country team. The season has concluded. This is their last meet. And we just want to thank them for their great work, dedication. I know that this slide is usually linked to our website, so you can see that there's a video that highlights this sport for Endeavor. But they're also going to have a fundraiser. So if you are interested in helping out for their sports banquet, please see reception for details. We have a couple of fundraisers coming up. For sure, if you're looking for cinnamon rolls and would like to help our graduates go to grad night for a little bit of a cheaper cost, please help us by buying either the frozen U-Bake trays for $30, and new to us this year, they're selling flour. So you can create your own cinnamon rolls at home. So help us with that. A few upcoming events. We will in December have the Hour of Code for grade 2nd through 12th grade. That's been super popular with us. We also did a Kids Game workshop, and the Lego robotics competition, and our community group will continue to do the food bank volunteer day and the memory project at the Grove. I think that's it. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, and thank you all for all the work you put into these presentations. It's always good to see what's going on and see the fruits of what we're doing here. Yeah. Unless there's any discussion on either of those presentations, go ahead and move on to 18. That is our next scheduled board meeting is on January 21st, 2025. And once again, we're doing that at 3:15 p.m. Okay, so now it's time for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I hear a second? Okay, we are adjourned. The time is 4:32 p.m. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.